just not allowed to have something nice for more than not even 24 hours, because that was yet again displayed by this Mets team. A Mets team that entered this series after the off day against the Atlanta Braves, dropping 11 of 12 ball games, kick and curb stomp the Braves after initially blowing a 4-run lead yesterday. You guys remember when that game was 5-5. I remember when it was 5-5, but the bats rallied back and the pitching got the job done for the remainder of said ball game. Shout out Justin Hageman, among others. Setting the stage for game 2 of a 3-game set against the Atlanta Braves. The bottom feeder Atlanta Braves are garbage this season, to say the least. The Mets get themselves an early, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 effing run lead. And you mean to tell me that they blowed in this fashion? We got Mark in the chat right now. He's even feeling bad because he wants to sleep this off. I can't sleep this off. I cannot sleep this off when the Mets continue to go out of their way to impress us with just how much they continue to lower the bar this season. Every single time, and I've been saying this how many times over the past 2 weeks, that you say to yourself, surely the Mets are not going to drop the bar lower. Surely they're not going to have a worse loss than that. Surely they're not going to have a worse run than that. They continue to one-up themselves. The Atlanta Braves take care of David Peterson, who on the same day that Carlos Carrasco for Atlanta gives up 6 effing earned runs in 2 innings, we see an inning and a half later, David Peterson do the exact same thing? Like, are you kidding me right now? Is this actually the world we're living in? Is this really the big 2025? The one day where you need David Peterson to just be competent when you have a 6-run lead in your first 2 to 3 innings of the ball game, and we can't even get that because Buddy's walking everybody and their mother. 0 control of the strike zone. He was scared out there. Like, what are we doing? The Mets with another key opportunity to gain some ground in the standings on a day where the Cincinnati Reds, of course, beat the Philadelphia Phillies. The one time you might actually say to yourself, I don't hate the idea of the Phillies winning, because the Mets are closer to being out of a playoff spot than they are actually winning the NL East at the time of us talking right now. The Mets are just 1 game up on the Cincinnati Reds. The Mets lose tomorrow, drop this series. If the Reds win tomorrow, folks, the Mets are officially out of a playoff spot. You see how quick this season can turn on its head? You see how fast things can happen when you go from 21 games above 500 to now where we are currently. And what is the common consensus that has plagued this Mets team for the past 2+ months now? Has been incompetence in their rotation. We've been screeching and absolutely howling on the fact that the Mets outside of Pearson have had the worst stretch of starter baseball going back to 1901, yet David Pearson, our last man standing in this rotation, was at the forefront of the problem today. Every single game, the Mets find more and more ways to lose. And the same day where Juan Soto hits his 29th bomb of the year, he goes on to strike out in 3 consecutive at-bats, including a massive at-bat with 2 runners on. God forbid Soto hit a bomb of 3 runs. He doesn't know how to do that this season. He hasn't done it even yet. 22 of 29 Soto's home runs this year are solo bombs. The other 7 are with at least 1 runner on or so, but that's that. The lack of clutch gene in this team was prevalent yet again. The pitching continues to get exposed. And on the same day that Paul Blackburn steps right up to make his return this bullpen, I get it. You're going to look right now and say, Wardy, calm down on Blackburn. Buddy wasn't horrendous. He 8 innings. He went 5 innings of 2 earned run baseball. But if you understand the effing context of this ball game, Blackburn getting rocked as soon as he came in was a further nail in the coffin. You have to wonder, maybe the Mets do find themselves rallying back if that ball game was still staying relatively close, but it wasn't going to. Another frustrating aspect, the Mets had key opportunities to retaliate right away as they were initially tied in this ball game and then lost the lead there, because how many runs did the Mets give up in the 4th inning? Mind you, the Mets have been horrendous in the 4th inning for the past 2 months plus, but you want to know how many runs the Mets gave up? They scored 6 to begin the ball game. They gave up 9 in the 4th inning. Are you kidding me right now? How do you go ahead and do that? You do that when you find more and more ways to lose, and that is exactly why this is not a normal post-game show. It might be normal to you if you guys have been watching the content, because if you guys have seen the platform of the past week and a half, 2 weeks, has been nothing of me ranting my absolute head off when I hate to do it, it. A Mets team that at one point was 21 games above 500 now has find themselves closer on the outside looking in there of a playoff spot than anything else. Think I'm bluffing? Look at it with me, everybody. There are the Metropolitans, 64-56. Who would have thought that in the big 2025 I'd be frustrated by my team above 500? But when you have the expectations that the Mets had heading into the season, when you knew the Mets had to do better, at least do similar to what they did last year, which was getting all the way to the LCS against the Dodgers, of course you have lofty expectations with Juan Soto year one in the club. Of course you have bigger expectations after you went ahead and did what you did a season ago. The Mets have fallen so flat on their face with expectations this year. They're proving again live in real time how they cannot handle the pressure. This has been a commonality that we've seen. The flaws are being further exposed, and when we talk about these flaws in particular, everybody, this is absolutely on so many people. It's not just the players. They have a lot to do with it, obviously. Guys are not performing to the caliber that they should. No doubt about that. So how much does that fall on Mendoza and the coaching staff for maybe not having their voice heard enough? How much does that fall on David Stearns? Well, if I'm being completely honest here, everybody, when we look at the big problem with David Stearns, and we've said this for time and time again, I love David for a lot of things. I really do appreciate him as a president. But what I don't appreciate is when you had a reclamation project of a rotation heading into the season, you knew that it was clearly shaky to a degree after the first month and a half of the season, especially when Senga, McGill, everybody and their mother goes down with injury, and yet you still decide to sit on your hands and do nothing. You had opportunities to add, even for back-end options that would at least be competent. You know, you saw the Atlanta Braves pitch an effing position player going 1.1 shutty yesterday, and yet you have guys like Paul Blackburn and David Pearson not being able to get out of their own mess as soon as they enter this ball game. Like, are you actually kidding me right now? No, I'm not kidding you, everybody. Step right up and meet your guy Wardy here for our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show presented by our amazing sponsors at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, as well as SeatGeek that has you covered for all of your ticketing needs. As you guys see there, SeatGeek is such a beautiful app to utilize for all your ticketing needs. They have a grading scale 1 to 10, red to green, meaning if you buy a ticket in the 1 through 4 range in the red, it ain't a good bang for your buck. Don't buy it, my opinion at least. If you see a ticket in the 7 through 10 range in the green, a great bang for your buck. Hammer that ticket if you haven't already, guys, and utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next tickets. And I hope that not all you guys attended tonight's shit show of a ball game. As much as I love to see Citi Field roaring, the same way it's roaring is the same way that every single fan and their mother has every right to be freaking out. You waited 2 hours of a rain delay to see the Mets go up 6 and then lose in a dramatic fashion. You want to know what's so fitting about this? Mike Puma of the New York Post, shout out to Puma, he knows who he is obviously, he tweeted right before the game today, finally the Braves are getting a taste of their own medicine as the Mets actually have the rain delay happen at Citi Field for a change. How many games have the Mets landed in Atlanta where they go out to roll over and die after a rain delay? Very fitting that on the same time the Mets have a rain delay, this time at home against the same Braves that are so effing below 500 right now. How about are the Braves this season, everybody? They're 52-68, and yet the Mets just gave up 11 runs to these guys. I get it. Their offense has been one of the hotter ones in the National League post-All-Star break. I also get that all it takes is incompetence by this squad from their pitching staff to allow this to happen. I can't sit here and blame the offense all that much when they put up 6 early runs. I also can't necessarily blame the pitching staff and David Pearson overly when Pearson has been a dog so much this season. But of course, you have to look at his flaws today. How do you not even give us 4 effing innings when Carlos effing Carrasco is towing the rubber for the Atlanta Braves and he's out here in 2 innings, 6 effing earned runs? Explain to me how that makes sense. The Mets continue to find more ways than one and how to lose, and that is exactly why I'm so hot-headed. That's why I'm so frustrated as a fan, like each and every one of you guys watching live and on replay right now. We're gonna break down the ball game. Trust me, can't you tell how ecstatic I am to break down how the Mets are up 6, lose that 6-run lead. They put up an effing 9-burger with a Michael Harris grand effing salami, because of course he does. Michael Harris, who's been far from the guy that the Braves usually expect him to be consistently this year, went dead central right away, because of course he did, as soon as we saw everything unravel there in the 4th inning. So guys, if you can't tell, I'm excited to break down this ball game. Cue the effing sarcasm. Thank you kindly for the donations and comments as you guys make your way in. But as I said before the show even started, if you looked at the comment that's pinned right now in the chat, guys, do not hold back. Tell me exactly how you feel as a Mets fan right now. If you're an opposing fan, how you doing? Happy to have you in here. If you're a Braves fan, I get it. This is your World Series today. You haven't had much to be happy about this season. I'm not going to sit here and talk crap because we just took it to the chin terribly after taking a big victory yesterday. But the victory at first was against again, inspiring because they retaliated after the pitching wasn't there, where, of course, the rotation was not able to get the job done yet again. Imagine allowing 4 effing consecutive runs there to have it a tied ball game 5-5 yesterday, but the offense retaliated. The offense responded right away, and that's what I appreciate, because if the Mets get anywhere this year, they need their pitching to start to, not just their pitching, but they need their offense to prevail with runners in scoring position. They go 4 for 8 yesterday. Woody's feeling like a kid in a candy shop. I know there's a lot of problems with this team. I understand the rotation has been absolute dog shit for the past 2 months, but I also know that heading into today's matchup, this was a given of a victory if you just knew what the hell your job was supposed to be. Yeah, here we are on August 14th, technically, because it's already past 12 a.m. I'm so mad right now. We have to break down a ball game on everything going wrong in Mets land. So happy about it. John with a final hollow. Really not high in Stearns anymore. I gotta agree with what the other guy said the other day. He really didn't try a trade of vibes for pennies. Listen, I will say this in regards to Stearns at the deadline. David really could not do much at the deadline. There was only one solid starter trade at the deadline, with the exception of the reclamation projects back end guys like Dustin May, as well as Bailey Falter and the 40-year-old Charlie Morton. Outside of that, there really isn't a lot to give. Merrill Kelly was the only true quality starter that was dealt. Merrill Kelly apparently hates New York and wanted nothing to do with the Mets, even when the Mets had interest in trading for him, mind you. Stearns barked up those trees. It didn't happen. But the problem that I have, everybody, as we all know, Noah McLean is going to be starting this Saturday against the Seattle Mariners for his MLB debut. I'm ecstatic to see McLean in this rotation, but where the hell was this a month and a half ago? And miss me with the nonsense to say that, oh, it makes sense, we gotta wait until after August 15th because of the rookie eligibility date. I understand that, but that's some bullshit reasoning in my humble opinion. You mean to tell me that we had to prioritize rookie eligibility and that the potential there of the IPA pick there that can happen a year or so from now over anything else? It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't, especially when the Mets have been in clear need of some stability in the rotation. Why not go the piggyback option sooner? Why do you have to wait before it's too late? Why? Because we have incompetence that has been going on with this club way too long this year. That's why. Offensively, you have all the talent and all the pieces. I think the best way to put what the Mets season has been like this year is a quote that I saw after the Mets got curb stomped and got swept there against the Brewers, and it was as follows: the Mets have great players. The Brewers are a great team, and that could not be more of the truth than anything else. The Brewers just won their 12th consecutive effing game tonight. They have 77 wins on the season. They're absolutely thriving with a young, exciting core group where they're not known for their name stats as they are with their actual output of their product. A team that was actually heavily built by David Stearns, we're seeing taking over the National League. Whereas the Mets here, again, recently built under David Stearns, but he doesn't control everything with this team when he first came in here, obviously. A lot of these guys are retreads to a degree, but what he has had his hands on, especially the rotation, it's making me want to pull my hair out because there's no consistency with it whatsoever. There was a clear concern when it came to length earlier in the year, and there was nothing addressed about it. They had endless opportunities to at least spark up other trees than saying, oh, you know what, let's go with another Blade Tidwell. Oh, you know what, let's go with a Brandon Waddell. Oh, you know what, let's go with Joe effing Schmo there to be the spot starter today, as the Mets go 5-11 this year and spot starts. So miss me with the nonsense that was the right philosophy for this team, because it wasn't. We're going to break down the game here shortly, everybody. I just got to let it rip. Guy, it's over. Time to accept my guy. I will accept it when it's officially over. Right now, Pork, it's not. The Mets are still in a playoff spot. They still have over a month left of baseball. But when I tell you that, it has been absolutely horrendous, not only watching, let alone covering this ball club on a daily basis for the past 2.5 months now. That is an absolute fact. It pains me to say, but it's true. Even going back to before the All-Star break, I wanted nothing to do with this team for the final couple weeks because they looked horrendous. We saw the Mets lose 14 of 18 games. Now the Mets have now lost, I'm trying to think here, because they lost 11 of 12. Then it was they lost 11 of 13. Now they've lost 12 of their past 14 effing games. Do you guys not understand how bad that is? To have multiple streaks in the same season of losing 14 of 18 games, going back 2 months ago, to now losing 12 of your past 14, enlighten me on how any solid baseball club that not only makes playoffs, but has a deep playoff run goes ahead and does that. Multiple losing streaks of that degree, multiple stretches of incompetence going on 2-week spans, if not longer. I just don't understand how I can sit here with confidence as a fan and suggest to each and every one of you watching live on a replay that this team is going to go anywhere farther or get close to being as far as where they were a year ago. From what we see right now, there is little to to suggest such a thing. A lot of talent on this team, a lot of weapons, but they do not know how to click in unison to save their life. Every single time the Mets have gone pitching, the offense has been nowhere to seen. And the select few games that the Mets finally show some life on offense, which makes sense because they're facing batting practice by the Atlanta Braves because they have a shit pitching staff. We all know this. And even in that scenario, the Mets pitching does everything in their power to cough it up. It's not just a singular issue, it's a multi-part issue. And if it's not the pitching, it's the offense. If it's not the offense, it's the pitching. What did David Stearns go out of his way to build most at this year's deadline? It was a super bullpen. What has a super bullpen done to help the Mets win games this year? Post-deadline, zero. Enlighten me as to one game of significance where every key acquisition there from those new relievers were heavy X factors in the Mets winning a ball game. There has not been one. They've had some solid outings, but there has not been one true game where you can say that, yeah, the bullpen took this one away. The Mets aren't even able to utilize the bullpen the way that they want to right now because their rotation is rolling over and dying even earlier than they initially expected, and their offense is so effing Jekyll and Hyde that while I love to see them beat up on the Braves to a degree, I don't know if they're going to do this after the fact. How should I think that they're going to do this against the Mariners there when the Mariners have one of the best rotations in baseball? Like, seriously, I'm going to have to see it to believe it. Casey with the 10 Naha. At this point, the fourth, fifth inning has become some kind of mythical mental block for the starting pitchers. 5 walks in an inning is never acceptable. I don't know what the solution is for mental blocks. It sucks, because the solution for mental blocks is a lot of a player issue. They have to figure it out themselves, as well as the coaching staff trying to instill some type of confidence, and they have not been able to do that. Mario with the 2 Naha. They had me working until 12 a.m., and we blew the lead. I know Mario works at Citi Field. This poor SOB was there all game today so late just to see the Mets lose in another dramatic fashion. When it gets bad, it gets worse here. Billy with the 5 Pete needs to be protecting Soto, and the traded line is looking worse by the game. What an implosion of epic proportions. Almost out of words. I know. The crazy part is, the worst part about this, everybody, is that my biggest takeaway is that I'm not shocked. That's what sucks so much. John with the 5 holla. Really not high in Stearns. Oh, I answered that already. Thank you so much for that. Let me get to a couple more comments here, everybody, and then I gotta break down this ball game for you because we all watched it in real time. How you want to pull your hair out as a Mets fan, but what if I told you that it's even worse than what you initially thought, especially when we get into this one a little bit more, everybody. So again, do not hold back. Hit that like and subscribe on your way, and if you guys have it already, I do greatly appreciate that. Help us get to our next short-term goal on the platform of 35,000 subscribers, because we're giving away a Mets jersey of whatever player you want on the team. Obviously, probably not many players are satisfying you at the moment, but if you want one, all you guys gotta do is hit that subscribe button. We give away a new jersey after every new 1,000 subscriber milestone here on the platform, and I greatly appreciate all you guys taking the time to watch live late night here on the East Coast, West Coast, wherever you guys are, as well to everyone watching there on replay. Thank you kindly for that, everybody. But folks, let me just start off by saying that when you have 6 runs for the Mets throughout the first 2 innings, I expect you to win the ball game. So the fact that the Mets had another game where they weren't horrendous with runners in scoring position, it wasn't great. They were 3 for 8, but knowing that the endless opportunities also happened there a decent amount after they had that 6-run lead, and then when they blew it, obviously, and had themselves down at least 9-6 there, that was all the more frustrating. Soto was prime Soto yet again today. I love the early offense from Juan. That is fantastic. I'm not complaining about that, but my God, Juan, could you find at least some type of clutch gene in your body? You're paid $100 million gross this year between your base salary and your signing bonus. I'm sorry, but I got to go hardest on you. You get paid the big bucks, bigger than many, bigger than anyone in North American sports history. All I need you to do is hit the effing Mendoza line with runners in scoring position, yet you still can't do that. Yet you still cannot hit a 3-run bomb. Yet you can't even sniff the idea of hitting a grand slam. How is that not a problem, right? There is no unity when you look at the core of the Fab Four. You get it in stretches, but when you get it, it's in bunches. You get 2 guys balling out while the other 2 aren't, right? You get a big game from Nimmo and Alonso while Lindor and Soto are sleeping. That's a problem in itself when you look at the top 4. Then you look at the bottom 5 through 9. There's been a lot of entertaining aspects of this lineup. I'm being completely honest with you. I'm really happy with the offensive output for the most part 24 hours into this series against the Atlanta Braves, but it's so hard to take it with enjoyment when the Mets again continue to find new effing ways to lose on a nightly basis. This is how the ball game ended, as you guys can see beside me there on the laps there, from Lindor to Soto to Nimmo to Alonso to McNeil to Marte to Mullins to Alvarez and to Beatty. Not as much much as we were hoping, even in a game, even in a day where the Mets had themselves a 6-run effing lead. Whereas Vientos was benched today because Buddy has not been playing consistently well, and Buddy was also shopped quite a bit by the Mets this past deadline, so don't be surprised if Mark Vientos is discussed in trade talks more as we find ourselves getting there to the offseason. Check the mods. What's happening with the mods, everybody? There's a difference between venting and trolling. That is true, Juan, but I will say, if you notice anyone that's kind of been a reoccurring long-time follower that's letting loose a little bit tonight, they get the pass, Juan. Just a heads up. Everyone has every right and then some to vent, to let off some steam right now, as long as you guys aren't getting overly mad at me just for relaying the message and how I feel. And even if you are, it's okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. The only thing that could possibly make me lose sleep at this point is this Mets team, because they have continued to one-up themselves. And not only did the Mets drop this ball game now to the Atlanta Braves, but you know how I told you guys how the Mets have had absurd struggles in the fourth inning? Well, let me relay the following statistic that I think is really notable that was on the SNY broadcast today. And SNY continues to go out and jinx things right before they happen. Whether it's Gary, Keith, or Ron saying, oh, this won't happen, or we're going to go to extra innings, and then bam, it's a walk-off bomb, or whatever it's going to be. Or it's the graphic today, which is as follows. And mind you, this happened in mere moments right before David Pearson completely unraveled in the fourth inning. The Mets have a 6.15 ERA entering tonight's game in the fourth inning over the past 54 games. That's the past 2 months of baseball. Second highest in Major League Baseball, with the Miami Marlins only the team to be worse with an 8 ERA in the fourth inning. So mind you, the Mets heading into this ball game horrendous in the fourth. They've unraveled the fourth what feels like every single game. It feels like every other game for the past calendar week. The Mets have been up by 3, 4, 5, let alone 6 effing runs, yet they cough it up right away because their pitching says, oh, what, you think we're supposed to hold the lead now? Miss me with that nonsense. So again, guys, not only have the Mets been having their struggles, but the fourth inning specifically has been their great demise. The fourth and fifth inning has been absolutely brutal. Their pitching has been batting practice. They start the game solid for the most part early, but as soon as we find ourselves fourth, fifth inning, they are causing major issues right now. And what bothers me most, more than anything else, for the fact of this to be the worst loss of the season, is not only did you blow a 6-run lead, you blew a 6-run lead to the sorry-ass Atlanta Braves, okay? Every Braves fan watching this right now, I know you might say, hey, we've been dominating you guys over the years. I completely get it. I'm talking about 2025. I'm talking about the fact that the Braves have everyone and their mother on the injured list. I'm talking about the fact that the Atlanta Braves are closer to being 20 games below 500 than anything else. Yet the Atlanta Braves yesterday gave the Mets a run for their money in the first half, not gonna lie, before the Mets rallied back with their great offense against shit pitching. Then today, and pardon, I'm so sorry for the profanity, everybody, tonight. It's late night. I'm pissed off. We got to break down a ball game. That's obviously not a positive one to get into. Then you get into game 2 today and this series. A clear statement game. Cookie Carrasco batting practice is on the bump. You had all the endless opportunity to go out and run away with this series. It was right in front of you. I'm talking like Aaron Boone right now because it's an absolute fact. It was right in effing front of you. And the Mets, instead of going out and grabbing that, not only allowed it to slip away, but oh my God, it was a tsunami that came in the fourth inning. They had no clue. They're looking like that dumbass that's doing a little live stream right by the water thinking the water isn't going to rise. Like, oh my God, this looks so cool. And then bam, you find out 2 seconds later in the news that they have nowhere to be seen, that they're washed away. That's exactly what happened to this Mets team in the fourth inning. Nothing to show, washed away. And just when you thought, okay, maybe it's not going to get all that worse, Paul Blackburn makes it all that worse in the beginning. I understand Paul ate a bunch of innings for the Mets. I also understand that Blackburn very well could be sent down by the Mets as soon as tomorrow, because if they have at all been going with a trend when it comes to this bullpen, it's that anytime that they call up a bulk reliever and that same bulk reliever eats 3 to 5 innings, they are almost inevitably sent down the next day every single time. That way they have a fresh arm in the pen. So Paul Blackburn just won 5 innings of 2-run ball, including batting practice as soon as he faced the first couple batters at the major league level today. And now we're going to see what is next for him, right? We just saw Austin Warren go 4 shutty for the Mets not long ago. He gets sent down right away. We saw Justin Hageman just yesterday do a very good job on keeping that Mets bullpen afloat and not having to utilize much high leverage guys down the stretch, and he gets the sword because, again, you need fresh arms on a daily basis. So Blackburn, I will be surprised if he hears tomorrow, but again, I don't even know why I'm rambling about Blackburn, because this really doesn't mean anything. I'm talking about shit that's so irrelevant to the greater problems with this team right now. I need to calm down. It's August. Stop panicking. Juan, I think there's a difference between panic and realization. And you can agree to this, Juan. As a longtime follower in the chat, you know this damn well. It's as follows. The Mets have played some of the worst baseball in all Major League Baseball. They have the second worst record in MLB since the beginning of June. Yet you expect me to sit here and think, oh, we're surely going to turn it around now, folks, after the Mets just had a big resilient win yesterday? No, because they need to show this thing called consistency. And the Mets have not shown any form of life of consistency, with the exception of their little 7-game here that they had by sweeping the San Francisco Giants in San Fran, and then before that taking care of the series prior. I'm honestly forgetting what that series was. Was it against the Reds or someone else? It might have been. Either way, it was a 2-series stretch where the Mets actually played competent baseball. Outside that, the Mets haven't played competent baseball since the first month and a half of the season. The Mets have not been on a heater at home for the most part since they were absolutely roaring. Remember when they had that 7-game winning streak for like the first big streak at home there? They swept the Philadelphia Phillies. Starling Marte with a broken bat single up the middle to walk it off. Those were elite vibes this year. You had the pitching exceeding expectations. The offense wasn't even fully clicking yet, i.e. Juan Soto, and yet they still were getting so much rolling. Now we fast forward all these months later, and the Mets have the same problems that they've had all season long in various aspects. And what bothers me so much about this, and this is the final thing I'll say before actually breaking down this ball game, is as follows. The same problems that have plagued this team are the same ones that will be their demise for the season's end. Unless they go out and dig deep and prove to us that that is not going to be the case, what makes you suggest that this team is going to be something miraculously different than what they've been throughout the vast majority of the season? Something that I did not initially take into account was what this team identity could be, because I've been wanting to find what exactly it is. They've lacked identity this entire time. But folks, I feel like I found it. I think that we've seen enough of a sample size to realize that the identity of this team is a lack of consistency. The identity of this team is that there is no identity. The identity of this team is that they do not know how to play in unison if it meant that their lives were on the line. That has been their entire status of the 2025 season. We've had individual accolades left, right, and center, but when it comes to actually bucking up together in a core group, and I know that this is a tight-knit group, so that's what makes it all the more frustrating, for them to continue to roll over and find new, fantastic, horrendous ways to lose on a nightly basis, leaves us not only at a point of jaw drop, but at the point of saying, oh my God, we are actually at risk of not making playoffs. That is not out of the realm of possibility now, everybody. For the first time this season, I can sit here and say to you all that yes, I do not know for certain if the Mets are going to make playoffs. For a long period of time, I felt awfully confident that happening, but we have now reached danger zone. We have now reached rock bottom, or as close to rock bottom so far in this regular season. And I'd like to make clear, rock bottom now does not mean that it can't be even more rock bottom a week later, but we don't know what the future holds. So what I've seen out of how many effing games the Mets have played this year, well over 100 already, out of every single game that Wardy has watched this year, this is the worst. This is the worst. When you understand the context of how bad they've been playing for the past 2.5 weeks, let alone 2 months. When you understand the struggles, the way that the Mets have struggled over the past 2.5 weeks, let alone 2 months, you completely understand that it really doesn't get all that much worse than this. We know the Mets were 11 games below 500 last year, but when you had the expectations that the Mets had heading into the year, when you had the current scenario that the Mets were in last year to exceed everything, it's because they didn't have the expectation. It's because they didn't have the pressure. The Mets with pressure, instead of making diamonds, they make shit. They have no effing clue how to handle this pressure with this market consistently in the normal 162. It has been their biggest concern under the Steve Cohen era. How can this team, how can they rally around the fans, and how can they now respond to the expectation that you should be going back to the LCS this year, with the expectation that having the largest contract in North American sports history means that you're supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball. The Mets were at one point this season one of the best teams in baseball. Now they genuinely feel like a club that is just getting by at absolute best. Can things change on a whim? Yes. That is the beauty, the absolute beauty about baseball. Things can change so fast for the better, but they most certainly can change for the worse. And unfortunately for us Mets fans, what we have seen about the past 2 months has been for the worse. It has not been for the better, and my head is throbbing. So, with that being said, we're a half hour in the live show. Hit that like and subscribe button if you guys haven't already. Let me know all your thoughts in the live chat and to our replay viewers. Do not hold back, everybody. I want to see how you genuinely feel. If you are so frustrated, if you're really confident as well, maybe you are the internal optimist saying to Wardy, please get your head out of your ass. Fine. Okay, that's fine. But listen, unless the Mets go on a run like they did last year, starting tomorrow, I'm going to continue to react like I think a rational fan. Nothing about my emotions is rational. I know that. I understand understand that. But what is rational is to be disgruntled and be disheartened by a team of World Series expectations to look like a team that is now one game out of a playoff spot. Not the NL East. I'm talking playoff spot here. What are we doing? All right, guys. Let's talk about this shit show together. Ready, class? Buckle up. Okay, it starts here in the first inning, everybody. And Jurickson Profile, Mr. Steroid himself, leads off the inning with a single. Afterwards, we would see a bunch of groundouts, 3 groundouts in a row, and David Pearson gets out of that unscathed. In the bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor ropes his 23rd double of the year. Soto then with a walk, Nimmo with a walk, bases juice, no outs for the Polar Bear and Pete Alonso. Pete, who was supposed to have his ceremony pregame today, didn't happen. It's happening tomorrow now. And again, I guess in hindsight, that was a good thing because the Mets lost. So hopefully they can win tomorrow with a pregame ceremony for him being the most home run hitting hitter in Mets team franchise history now. Alonso, though, pokes himself a single. That drives in a pair, and the Mets are quickly up 2-0 this ball game. Mind you, they're facing batting practice by Carlos Carrasco, and Cookie was only picked up by the Braves because the Braves know they aren't going anywhere this season to begin with. As we get on from there, McNeil strikes out. Marte with a walk, and then we would see after the challenge, he would in fact be save everybody. We see Cedric Mullins pull himself a sac fly to right, and after the throw comes in from Eli White, it does not matter. We would see BRAVES scores, and that does it. It's an early 3-0 lead for this Mets team there in the first inning. Alvarez would strike out, but Ali had a big game yesterday. He gets at least 2 to agree to pass on the offensive end today. In the bottom of the second today, everybody, David Pearson gets a 1-2-3. He strikes at Michael Harris and Eli White back-to-back to end the inning. In the third inning then, guys, we see Francisco Lindor with a 1-out walk. So there's a runner on for Juan Soto. Juan Soto, he does have a runner in scoring position, but Juan Soto knows that he has an opportunity to drive in a run. And he does this time. It's 29th home run of the year there by Soto. That makes it 5-0 Mets off of more batting practice that we saw by Cookie. And mind you, Cookie was out of the ballgame after this inning because then WardyNYM ropes his 22nd double of the year. Then we would see Jeff McNeil more like Jeff McDoubles himself. Jeff then rips himself his 13th double of the year. An RBI double that puts the Mets up 6-0. Surely the Mets are going to win this game up 6. Oh my God, little did we know. Why Am I a Mets fan? Seriously, shout out to my friends there for the, from the Why Am I a Mets fan podcast as well. I got to bring them back on the platform soon. I know that we have Samantha Croston on the platform plenty, but her other co-host does a great job too. But yeah, seriously, today's are the days where you ponder, at least for a moment, at least for the night, why am I a Mets fan? No doubt about it. Absolutely. As we continue on from here, the Mets are up 6. What can go wrong from here? Well, it starts with the following. Nick Allen rips himself a single. Jurickson Profile rips himself a single. Matt Olson then strikes out swinging, but then we see this steal by Profile's 5th of the year, his 2nd of the series. Ozuna then with a walk. It's bases loaded for David Pearson here. Pearson knows how to work out of jams. He's usually Houdini magic, and he was Houdini magic in this instance because he would get a ground on Alziabis, and that does it there for the inning. In the bottom of the third, the Mets get themselves a 2-out single from Beatty, but nothing else to show. In the top of the fourth, Michael Harris gets on with a single after a Sean Murphy walk, and then a Nacho Alvarez 1-out walk loads the bases, a second consecutive inning where David Pearson allows bases loaded. This time, he walks in a run to Nick Allen. So the walks continuing to bite David in the ass today, and they would get from bad to worse, because after that walk, Jurickson Profile puts them within 2. His 9th double of the season there. As we know, Profile did not play the first half of the season due to steroids. Matt Olson then with a walk, 2 on, less than 2 out there for Reed Garrett to face Marcell Ozuna. That does it for David Pearson's final line, believe it or not. He's already out here in what felt like a game that was still just getting started. Reed comes in, he gives up an RBI single to Marcell Ozuna right away. It's a 1-run ball game. He gets a called strike 3 on Ozzy Albies. Then he walks Sean Murphy, and folks, his bases loaded for Michael Harris. All the Mets need is one final effing out to get out of this inning, at least still up a run. Instead, Michael Harris goes deep. He goes dead central. His 13th home run of the year, 106 off the bat, 417 feet, absolutely smoked against Reed Garrett, unfortunately, and that makes it, folks, a 9-6 Atlanta Braves lead. And you want to know how that happens? That happens when Reed Garrett says, you know what I'm going to throw you for pitch 3 for my cutter? I'm going to throw you a 92-mile-per-hour meatball, middle, dead central. All you need to do is swing. My grandma could have hit that shit out there, even in Citi Field, being as much of a pitcher's park that it is. It's 9-6 Atlanta Braves, and they never look back from there. And the Mets would try to rally because they would get on with a hit by pitch by Alonso with 2 out. McNeil then with a walk, and Marte then with a single, but it would not matter after we would see Marte get on with a single, everybody, because Pete Alonso, for whatever reason, and I would love to know if you guys know the reason for this, because I'm still trying to understand what was the thought process there. Pete Alonso is running from second, and he thinks he can get home from a shallow single by Starling Marte to right. All we needed to know was how far that ball was going to go by Marte. That was way too shallow and right. There was not a single second that I said to myself as a fan watching that moment that Alonso would be safe if he got to home. Alonso was one of the slowest mofos imaginable. He's selective with his base running, and he's very good with his stealing when he does it right. But in a lot of other instances, Alonso doesn't know what he's doing, and he's getting the green flag there by Mike Sarbaugh one way or the other. And holy shit, why can we not figure out the fundamentals with the base running either lately? We had it down for a good stretch this season. Now I feel like we have no clue what we're doing. They're, again, collapsing in all these different areas. What are we thinking in this situation? I'm genuinely curious. What's the thought process here to think that you are going to get to home in time if you're the polar bear? Not a chance in hell. He's thrown out after a perfect dime of a throw by Eli White. I understand that White isn't necessarily known for all the defensive upside, but at the same time, why are you running there? It made no sense. If you kept him there, if Alonso stayed at third, the Mets very well could have rallied in that inning there to at least find themselves back within a couple runs. Instead, they're down 9-6, and that does it for the inning as we head to the fifth. And in the fifth inning, everybody, we would see nothing happen there for Atlanta after we would get a clean inning of work from Paul Blackburn to begin things. So Paul Blackburn gets us through the first inning okay. Then we find ourselves in the bottom of the fifth. And I did say earlier that Blackburn got rocked his first couple batters he faced. That was inaccurate. I would like to clarify that, and I apologize for me saying that. I got myself tongue-tied there for a second. It wasn't what happened that first inning there for Blackburn, but it wouldn't be long after. And as we would continue on from here, everybody, we would see right away Brett Baty with a two-out single rather. Lindor with a two-out walk. 2 on, 2 out for Juan Soto. All Soto needs to do is put a ball in play and get us at least within 2 runs here. Instead, Soto would be striking out Sweeney in what was an absolutely, pardon my French, kiddos, earmuffs, 3, 2, 1, dog shit at bat. I don't know what Soto was thinking. He had ball 4 multiple times upstairs, and he was going for daddy hacks. Instead, those daddy hacks led to some absolutely swing and miss strikeouts, and that does there for the inning. 1 of 3 Ks for Soto on the day after hitting his 29th home run this season. Matt Olson then gets on with a leadoff walk a half inning later. Marcell Ozuna greets the Mets rudely, the schmuck that he is there, and I hate Ozuna like every one of you. His 20th of the year makes it 11-6 Atlanta, and that would be the final nail in the coffin for this Mets team. From there, Alonso gets a single, nothing else happens. We see Paul Blackburn there. Mind you, the Paul Blackburn pitch to Marcell Ozuna. Let's take a look at the placement for this bad boy, because it was a 369 feet, 101 off the bat, so it wasn't terribly smoked, but it was a sweeper that caught way too much of the zone. More middle than it was down and away. And because of that, Blackburn gets a nice little taste of reality, which is why the Mets went out of their way trying to trade his ass at this year's deadline. If you guys don't believe me, go back and check the reporting. Literally, it stated that the Mets were actively shopping Paul Blackburn and the deadline. But it's a really hard sell to trade away a guy that's been injured pretty much for the past calendar year, hasn't been consistent at all, and looks more like a guy that should stay in the minor leagues than a guy that should be considered at any major league level at the time of us talking right now. Instead, guys, we see the Mets do a whole lot of nothing. I'm speed running through this. We saw Marte with a single in the bottom of the 7th. Nothing else happens. We see the Mets in the 8th inning with a Lindor walk, but that's about it. Nemo grounds into an inning-ending double play. Then in the 9th there, Raisel Iglesias gives up a leadoff single to Pete Alonso, but it doesn't matter. The Mets go down in order from there. So, guys, the Mets go on to lose this one by a terrible final score of 11-6. A day after the Mets put up 13 runs on the Atlanta Braves, they get one up the very next day. And you want to know what I think of right away when I look at the score in the final line of today's game? It is so similar to how the Mets had that one blowout win post-trade deadline that we saw against the effing San Francisco Giants at that home series. What happens the very next day after the Mets win, I think it was 12-4 or so, they then go on to lose 12-6 or something along those lines. Horrendous. And there's a lot of ways that I can put this from a fan reaction and from an analysis point of view, but there's really no way to put it without reiterating the same exact shit that I've been saying for the past half hour, let alone the past week. Let's go 2 weeks. And that's the fact that there's no consistency with this club. There's none. And as Uko in the chat is saying, and he's 100% right, Seattle is coming. Not only are the Mets at risk of being out of a playoff spot tomorrow with a loss to the series against the Atlanta Braves and a Reds victory against the Phillies, but the Mets then have a gauntlet of an effing series heading in the weekend against the Seattle Mariners. Do you guys not understand how good the Seattle Mariners are right now? They are one of the best teams in baseball. They went from a team that did not have depth of quality whatsoever in their not rotation, because the rotation's nails, one of the best in baseball, one of my personal favorites. Their lineup has had so many flaws with the power, but after landing Eugenio Suarez again, and after Brittany and Josh Naylor, that lineup is as good as any in baseball right now. And the Mets now have Noah McLean, who I'm very excited about with his 2.81 ERA and AAA Syracuse this year, and 2.45 ERA overall between AA and AAA this year. McLean has to make his debut this year in team need and desperation against the red-hot Seattle Mariners over the weekend. How should I be overly instilled about that as a fan? Why should I think that, oh my God, McLean's going to go out here and dominate? I hope he does, and if he does, I'll be ecstatic. But again, if Buddy gets his confidence shot a little bit right away, it goes in direct hand because we're throwing him into the fire and doing the complete opposite of what David Stearns was so claiming to say that we shouldn't be doing heading in this season. That was the following: we should not call up young prospects that can be not only impressionable, that can have their confidence hurt by a lack of good outings, especially when we need them for more team need. It's never a good philosophy for a team to rely on young and inexperienced players because you're out of desperation. Well, folks, that's what happens when you don't do anything trade-wise, regardless of the reasons for it. That is what happens when you don't consider the kids sooner. Now you sit on your hands, having lost 12 of your past 14 games, potentially now losing the latest series for the Mets against the bottom feeder of their Atlanta Braves tomorrow, before you get set for more big series for the remainder of the week. So yeah, I'm frustrated. And yeah, I've been calling this shit out for way too long now. And both things can be true, because I get fans that say to me all the time, Wardy, you were such an optimist. How can you be such a pessimist? There's a difference between being an optimist and a pessimist and being a realist. I call out the team when they don't perform well. The same way they perform good, I'm ecstatic about it, but I also bear in mind the short-term point of view and the long-term point of view. In the first half, the short-term point of view was the Mets are playing some very good baseball while they aren't even playing their best. Like, they're playing kind of sloppy, but they're still churning out a lot of victories thanks to their pitching exceeding expectations. But what did I say in the first 2 months of the year to every single one of you guys that follows the platform? And you know it if you've been following. It's the following, everybody. The rotation, when it is going to start to have its flaws, that's where we're going to see the offense get exposed. It was very easy for the offense to go as long as he did without heading electric runners to scoring position when the rotation was amongst the best in baseball for the first 2 months of the year. As soon as that started to unravel, we knew that we were going to be facing some early adversity. But how would the team respond to that adversity? That was always the big question that we had pondered. Well, the Mets have not only not responded to that adversity well whatsoever on a consistency front, but their rotation has gotten worse before it can possibly get better. And a year where we genuinely thought that post-All-Star break, by getting more of your reinforcements back in Manaea, Montas to a degree, and I say that to a degree, who's now in the bullpen, among others, that getting Senga back and all these guys, that we would finally get ourselves right, that we would get what feels like trade deadline acquisitions. Because cue my latest Brody Van Wagenen comment with that fucking bullshit, pardon my French. And now I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I usually am not this hot-headed with a profanity. It only happens in 3 separate scenarios, guys. After really bad losses like this, the worst loss of the year at this point, after something very dramatic happening trade or signing-wise that I just can't hold back by raw emotion, or playoff reaction when I'm covering the games and then we get into the Mets winning or losing. A lot of times, the profanity goes all over the place there. So again, I do sincerely apologize. I've been trying to do better on that front, but sometimes they just slip up because, man, I'm mad. I'm really mad. Mets give you a few months of glory followed by a year-end misery. I mean, you guys have no idea how much I would take 2024 again in the snap of a finger. I would much rather the Mets play some of the worst baseball imaginable in the first half of the season, knowing that they're going to turn it up big time leading into the second half. This is the opposite. The Mets had a great first 2 months, and they played shit baseball since. That's a fact. Like, they suck, dude. Like, they genuinely suck right now. They really do. And you're saying to yourself, how can this be? I just don't understand. But you do understand. If you watch it live in real time, you understand. It's the same reason why we've been calling out a change on the hitting coaches. It's the same reason why we've been calling out for some type of change on the rotation front. We're starting to get that now, but again, it's coming after the Mets now have dropped 12 of their past 14 games. And on the offensive end, it only means so much to score 6 runs when you still had key opportunities to hit with runners in scoring position after down just 3, and you could not do it. Your biggest bat in your lap is nowhere to be seen after the Mets get early leads. It's very easy, I've noticed for this team this year, to really get things cooking and reeling when they don't have any pressure. But as soon as this team gets pressure, with the exception of what I thought was a truly impressive victory yesterday, coming back after the pitching was trying to fail you, this is as bad as it gets. Because last year was awesome, but not last year. It was great last year. But yesterday it was awesome, and the end product of that ball game. But that is not something that the Mets are doing consistently. And that's a problem. It's a major problem. I have no confidence instilled with this club right now. None. Nada. All we're doing when the Mets are up by 6 in 2 innings is saying, how long is it going to last? It feels like 2019 again. It feels like 2019 where you don't have the pitching, right? Your bullpen is shit, or your rotation. In 2019, it was really Edwin Diaz being horrendous in save situations, getting traded here, and having no lack of bullpen, and your rotation did not have the quality and the back end of it, to say the least. The offense. There was a bunch of offense for the Mets in 2019. They had a lot of offense throughout the core of the summer in 2019, but their pitching was their demise. I'm seeing those similarities right now, where now the Mets are finally trying to show some effing life in their offense. And their pitching is stepping right up and say, hey, let's go out and make sure we still lose this ball game. On the pitching end, you want to know what grade David Pearson gets today? David Pearson gets a 1 out of 10 today. Dog shit. I got nothing else to say. Nothing. Peterson usually is one of those guys that when you look at his analytics, when you look at his expected numbers for Fangraphs among others, they all tell you that he gets lucky. They tell you that he should be a worse pitcher than what he is. But Pearson does something so brilliant usually every 5th day or so, and that's by going out there and inducing so many great ground balls for double plays and getting out of his own mess by taking advantage of the strong infield defense behind him. Today, Pearson could not get out of his own mess from the beginning. He walked everybody and their mother, and he has himself to blame for this shit show of an outing. Reed Garrett did little to nothing to help as well. Paulie Blackburn. Appreciate Paul Blackburn for at least being solid in this one. Initially, I did not love, and I actually realized, guys, in real time, how much I effed up what a key part of my show was today. As I was talking about Paul Blackburn, I was understanding the fact that, yes, Blackburn is the one who gave up that bomb to Marcell Ozuna. I have a major flaw that I would like to correct from earlier in the show, and I sincerely apologize to Paul for this. And it's the reality that Paul Blackburn is not the one who gave up the bomb there that we saw to Michael Harris. The one who gave up the bomb to Michael Harris in this ball game that opened the floodgates to make it 9-6 was none other there that we saw in Reed Garrett. So I would like to sincerely apologize. My hot-headedness got the best of me there, and I don't know why I had them flip-flopped. I genuinely do not know why. I think it's just because I associate Paul so bad with negative connotation. He's usually shit every single time he's been out there. So the one time that Paul isn't necessarily the problem, I'm making him to be out that it is for him. I apologize. I do not expect him to be in this with this team tomorrow because he pitched 5 innings today regardless. But Reed Garrett is the one who I was trying to really go in on. Reed Garrett is the guy who I should have been talking all that smack from the beginning on outside of Pearson. So that's on me. I will, without question, that was just because I was so pissed off and got them flip-flop. Nothing more than that. I would like to clarify that once more. But yeah, 1 out of 10 from David Pearson. That's all I got in the grade today. I can't do anything better than that. He was horrendous. On the hitting end, everybody, again, the Mets had 6 runs today, but they had 12 hits to the Atlanta Braves 8, and it still did not matter at all. The Mets offense, we look at the following. Lindor with a 2-for-3 day with 2 runs scored, 2 walks, 245 average, 743 OPS. Juan Soto, 251 average, 878 OPS with a bomb, but he had himself 3 strikeouts on the day. Well, Brandon Nimmo, 1-for-4 with 2 runs scored, 251 average, 762 OPS. Shay's doing great, Porca. Thank you for asking. He's sound asleep right now. I'm really envious of him, as I know my ass is not going to bed probably for another 3 or so hours, as I got to go do a nice little quick recap video there for Bleacher Report. I might need to get some content figured out for you guys before tomorrow's series finale. Not sure if I will have that for you guys, but it's something that I'm going to attempt to do. Just very hectic schedule right now. This week specifically is bananas for various reasons, and I'll expand on that in the future. But Shay's doing good. Thanks for asking. As we continue on, though, Alonso, we see here, and thank you for the donation, too. Alonso, 3-for-4 game. Pete was far from the problem in this one yet again. Another great game for the Polar Bear. 272 average, 886 OPS. McNeil, 1-for-4, 250 average, just under 800 OPS. Marte, 2-for-4, 281 average, 779 OPS. Mullins, 0-for in this one, 225 average, 724 OPS, and a sac fly. Alvarez, 0-for, 249 average, 745 OPS. Beatty, 2-for-4, 236 average, 714 OPS. And that that, folks, was the Mets offense. And that is what I have to break down for each and every one of you. Take the day off tomorrow. I can't advocate. If I'm being completely honest, guys, I can't take days off willingly, usually for the following reasons. Unless I'm sick as a dog, where I literally cannot be here for you, or I'm physically not able to be present because I have so many other things going on in my current life, I'm going to be here. And a big part of the reason why I need to be here is because consistency is key. As soon as you lose consistency with the platform that I built, it will go down slowly but surely. It will crumble. I take a lot of pride in being here as much and as often as I possibly can. And for the times I'm not here, it's so few and far in between for a reason, because I know I got to be here as much as I possibly can. And I also got to be transparent by saying, guys, this is my job. I like to make that clear. Like, this is a hobby, but this is a job. I do this full-time for a living. This is what pays the bills. This is what keeps things afloat. This is what keeps me and my family happy. You know, this is a lot, and I'm so grateful for you guys and your support. But that's why we have to make sure that we don't skip a beat either. This is my job. I'm not doing, this is the 9 to 5. This is everything, right? So when you guys say to yourself, I wonder what Wardy's up to, you know, it's always grinding and working on content and doing other things along those lines, because this is not one of those things where it's like, oh, the Mets played like shit today, I can go ahead and turn my TV off. No, I got to go ahead and watch it. I got to go and cover it. I got to go and edit about it. I got to go and share analysis about it. I got to go and prep what I'm going to talk about tomorrow in regards to about it. There's a whole process to it when you're on the daily grind the way that I am. It's something that I don't recommend for everybody, but for those that have been in similar situations like myself when it comes to content, you know that the grind never stops, and you know that the grind is the damn grind. Mac, thank you so much for the $5 haul. I appreciate that. You have a super chat, Jonah. I'll get to you actually right now. Let me do that because I did not see that earlier, brother. Let's go up here for a second. Okay, Jonah, $5 haul. I missed the game, but I'm sure it was typical Mets BS. How long did it take before Hef jogged out to tell Pearson to stop walking the damn ballpark? That's a good question. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because Hefner went out there a couple times that we saw today. I don't think it took Hef terribly long to get out there, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I think Hef talked to Pearson once when it was, I think, bases loaded before the unravelment happened, and then he talked to him again after it happened. So I don't think we can put a lot on Hef today, personally, but that is a fair question to ask. And I'm going to relay that now to our live viewers watching right now to answer that question for me, because I don't have it with 100% certainty, and I don't want to act like I do. I was very much just pissed off at the moment that we saw Pearson getting in these early jams, and then not being able to get out of them is what made it 10 times worse. Mac, thank you for the $5 holla. Reminder that the open question about Pearson at the start of the season was if he could actually be good for an entire season. Well, here's the thing, though, Mac. He has been. He has been. We know he's been. Look at the stats. I know the line is shit, but look at the ERA. I know the expected numbers aren't great either, but Pearson gets the pass with bad expected numbers because he's been doing this consistently for a couple of years now. He doesn't go in hand with the metrics and what the advanced numbers will tell you. He goes in hand with feel and just working around his team defense. That's what Pearson is at his best. He doesn't have great put-out pitches. He's just a guy that induces a lot of ground ball outs and can work out of jams. That is Pearson at his best. That's what we see with consistency. The problem, though, is that Peterson did not have anything going today. Literally none. And that really was a demise of this club early on. Yes, Max. 9 runs. 9 effing runs the Mets managed to give up in the 4th inning. A Mets team that had a team ERA of 6.15 heading into today's 4th inning today, over the past 54 games, gave up 9 runs in the 4th today. Well, the celebration optimism lasted the whole game, literally. There needs to be major changes in the offseason. Their hitting finally picks up, and the pitching collapse is very frustrating. Yep, nothing's in use whatsoever. And Severino has been looking good now. It's almost like he should have took that gamble at 2 years of $40 million instead of taking Frankie Montas there at fucking 2 years, $34 million with a second-year option. That's a player option and not a team option. My head's throbbing, and you wonder why. Well, I couldn't sleep, so I'm back. Who wants my tickets for tomorrow? Broken Jester, great member. For those that don't know Broken Jester attends like almost every game. He's hanging out first row in left field area. He's the guy with the big signs, having the target sign saying hit here when they hit bombs to deep left, or shallow left, I should say, rather, because you're right in the front row there. If Broken Jester doesn't want to go to the game tomorrow, you know it's down bad. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. Porco with the $2 holla has to be Clubhouse issues, right? Bad vibes. I don't know if it's as much Clubhouse issues as it might be Clubhouse communication issues, is where I think maybe you could point anything there. I don't think the Mets have an overly divisive clubhouse. From everything that I've heard, they're pretty much in good unity with each other when it comes to like appreciating each other and having each other's backs. They have not had each other's back consistently on the battlefield, which is Citi Field this series right now. That in itself is a problem. I walked after the fourth tonight. I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all, Broken, because like that's where you feel broken, genuinely speaking, right? And if you know that you got to get back home by a reasonable time when you already waited 2 effing hours for the game to start, like that's pissing me off more than anything. Like my whole night is ruined in direct hand because of the Mets having the rain delay and then playing dog shit baseball. The least they could have gave us was a victory tonight and to win a series. Instead, they've dropped now 12 of their past 14 games, getting closer to being out of the playoffs than they are to winning the NL East. That, folks, is what I have for you. I'm out of here. I'm pissed off. I got to go do a recap video for Bleacher Report now and ramble about the same nonsense about how mad I am as a Mets fan. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry that this was a very frustrating and a very rambunctious and a very unhinged, if you will, post-game show. I really do not like to be this way, but know that this is not an act. This is genuinely how I feel. This is my way to vent to each and every one of you by saying that not only does this team have problems, but they've had these problems for so long now that it's a damn shame that there's a good amount of fans, including myself, that weren't the most surprised to see them still blow this one in the end. That's all I got, guys. Thank you.